Leb Acholi. Welcome to Chaka Leb Acholi. My name is Jacqueline Kang. I'm recording from a different angle today. It's a busy Saturday. In a bit of a rush, like Kwan, what I promised a couple of days ago, which is basically to conclude reading on all of the Chismodong, the Abong media wall, going. Before I done, you look more about a wall. Okay. One Chaka Leb Acholi. Please join segment with Kwan Leb Acholi. We are on Facebook as Chaka Leb Acholi, and we are also on YouTube as Chaka Leb Acholi. Segment enemy Kwan Leb Acholi need tier within Chaka Leb Acholi. And Jacqueline Kang, like in my official Facebook, I've been out here posting content here as Chaka Kang, South Sudan. And I'm also on TikTok here posting snippets. The Chaka Kang dash South Sudan. I'm not going to spend too much time on doing reflection about what we have read so far up to this point. Please watch previous videos for those. Okay, as you know, I've been talking about Joe Obbo ruling by Joe Abong. We divide between Abbo a tweet, Abbo a cham. Piana Buddha and near Joe Bob, the Gidum Cat, well to Gidum, Ngom territory, and Dum, located in Dum Guinea. Or for the Rio, Okero, Omine, deputy, Onyala on one side, and a ruling on the other side. Okay? That's why about here cham get tweet. But the rule, the chiefdom when my lawyer came here about when you're a bomb. Chiefdom, you know, being a bomb. In my give it a color, okay? I better talk about rule in Wang lineage in Pajua Bong. Magi Chaka Kedigi, Tirangori, Capoeira, Kujo, two give you the pain. You know, you're actually your bomb territory in the present day of bomb. People can get queer. Give way, I give you a king actually, Kinyo, actually, Pole. The Mogin your Pajok, near Pajok. Your mare. One and longing off a buri Pole. On your momon me Obbo. Excuse me. If I'm delayed, excuse me, please. Connection is back at Tinko, but I want to hack Kwan so we can get moving because book it did my right. Hapo amatek. So buri polo nyom jomi Obbo. Onyala benelotini maduong nyom mona bongwen chalwone. Lakini achel bonyal. When I name my British been in 1914 can get keeping in power until long give move gonna look me chiefdom traditional chiefdom gi establish ngani LGCC to read local government center can be okay so they can have control jo give me the jumalo le mono ma serve the gatekeepers in the community king ebe le mono konyo we take lo remove in your kind mini chief lo boli na boli sigin king ma will be nero get a bit of bolo Aburi gi sigin, Vitto gi sigin, Nganga gi sigin, Habarai gi sigin, Dano bedi sigin, Maraj. Jo British gi kelo wigera. Gina kai gina ni winyo loko to remove in your current sigin. Kidma Buddha better put it traditional chief we kala kemi Obbo. Water guinea or better pointing into road guinea the Obbo. Last session, Akwana Mathia Lolori, Kidma Enokir any ballot against Uncle Jeremiah Ladon. George Chulgi yara Jeremiah, Mathia, lakini, the youth of Obbo didn't like Mathia. Mathia had a bit strict or fight crime, Matek. Look me again and Maracon, acquire, look knowing will acquire hard of bomb, looking at Ero. Mathia, my bad agenda of the British. Instead, the Twingiti come Chilo Latin money, number 7, will gonna meet that one, you'll get me a beer or something like this. Okay? Dami a herbal, Dami a board or Chilo. About me, I think they'll give favor the road card. Neil card, child, one, grandfather, gay, great grandfather, ancestors better. Like one and the British don't care about that. Nico Kalamfa could have 2 Bush and achieved. That has nothing to do with us. One put what they are governed, one mama lawyer, one more pointing at Mawa Miro. Can report it was Gamawa Miro Yalaka, make sure we are paying tax. So Aburo be the traditional chief, Lakin, he was disregarded by the British. Gikero Mathia Lolori. Kongikero Vitto Manokero Mathia Lolori. After Mathia Lolori, one nano kanying on it. Chaka kero glutino Abong, lakin after that wabinena dong ningani after Mathia Lolori bita because giga alternate omero glutino paburini. At some point no matter Mathia be doctor ho chin kala ke bita o chaka kero jolo. That's the first time one in the Lord don't get your bino ike me Obbo me la ke me Obbo. After dong on then running on it lutini paburi gini gi use kina hodong gi cha chira to lodo yeah gonna rudi gi lodo. Okay, now traditionally cousin to me actually chiefdom only bino gi family a chill juma be very chief la kwan gi family a chill lineage a chill my British bino na give me la gonna custom in her at some point gi la don't gi come up jo Abong gi la to chiefdom bot lodo kono lo yang no ge maka keko. Okay, so okay atiro kwano Mathia Lolori mandong amira donyo kidma Turbuzio mon olo okay after kwanya Mathia Lolori okere Turbuzio. Okay, mana kwano ge kan gi Leb Acholi kadong adonyo kere gi kenyuma yornere akome no duon ko pien chape akwana ba Turbuzio mon Kwan about Vitto Aburi or Bidwa Ike. Emilio Cho Kanye Emilio la okay between Mohango a part of when Gi Piera Birwa Beach we a part of one Gi Piera Birwa Biro Moharia Keken. Lakin information la church bocho of Cho American law ke Moharia moon information model pay is just empty. Jimo pay kenyo. After Emilio Maria Eringo, a dog Mathia Buri Lolori. Ike from Mohangani, a par bon wengi Piera, Bira, we bichel. We a par bon wengi Piera, Boro, we are Biro. I don't know, did I say that right? A loke from Ngani, a par bon wengi Piera, Bira, we bichel. We a par bon wengi Piera, Boro, we are Biro. Okay? So 11 years, a Bura doctor, okay. After Emilio biro Mohari again. Okay? Yala, Mathia dogo nena bio timama be obedo ke para. Remember at this time what team wonjo anyanya 2 bi poro. Kanga nyanya 1 wa be peace for 10 years kada wado nyanya 2 1983 ni. At this time no Mathia Buri Lolori came wadonyo anyanya 2. Okay? Gia nyanya 2 kenyuro paha British ya mira dong wa giglog man we chief dem ha gi kwardo. Okay, at that point okirongo Joseph Atira. Okay, up until 2002 And then there was a brief period where Chief Guinea Pere, okay, Boke Dan Ken, what he moon, look more me piece of court here, Time. And British, they were more focused on that as opposed to appointing chiefs. So from 2002 to 2005, Boge appointing more. 2005, okay, Benjamin Obbo in 2005. Munu no what signed CPA, peace agreement between the government of Sudan and SPLA. Okay. Okay, Benjamin Obbo in 2005. Okay. I wonder why they would still put Benjamin Obbo in 2005. Is it because putting in what transitional period? Munu gima bi kwana kon cha no pe ira mi kwana look me kin ma Benjamin Obbo kere ke munu jalmi lo wuro Latin lo wuro. Okay, lo wuro put it the above. Lakin chiefdom comes from the side of Abong. So we'll find out later how why the British selected Benjamin Obbo. Amir cha kwana jo eni ma ocho pinkanye lotini Abong eni Chief Turbuzio Mon Chief Aburi kinmodo kerike Emilio gana ojum gimo bocho ye eno loke muhari nge Vitto do kado nge Emilio ker Mathia Chief Mathia before I done kede Joseph Otira. I'm more interested in reading about Joseph Otira. Lakin it seems like Joseph Otira paragraph a chill can matiri bes. I don't know if anybody there know about chiefdom for Joseph Otira. Joseph Otira. Please drop your comments. Okay, I would like to get more information about that. Maybe I think Auntie Para. If I can find the information. Apo amatek. So Raja Kwan na iyo. La cheju chone ngokanye section mingo Turbuzio omon oloyo ke moha apar bongwen gi piera beach wa beach we apar bongwen gi piera beach wa beachel. Moha apar bongwen gi piera beach wa beach we call. There's a loud ambulance, fire truck passing by. Live on such a busy street, guys. Moha apar bongwen gi piera beach wa beach. Idwe mi aboro muonyo chare ikin lo muony pa gamente igang muony mi torit ka la chien oket ingomi Equatoria duchu. Okay, all Equatorian provinces ma ara ma pol oruenyo kwa megi. Okay, imwaha apar bongwan gi piera beach we beach onongo benetie la chat mi Arab achiel migi luongo Tahir I Obbo. Ikarma Tahir oneno ni piny dong tie marach eno ringo okano kome igang paruot Mathia I alia. Okay. Ogwoko la chat man dong I ot ma tie malo iwi ot paruot ma ogero gi tangula. Drop your comments ka Kwan munu mabe tangula nengoni. Ot ko ogero gi tangula lo gero ni ningi. Lok mi kane paja nyola Arab man oyuek ikindano mi Obbo ma weho ada nino mo achiel Natalino okwir mi pa pokongo gi Francesco wopa alil mi pokongo gino bino gi mutukari igang pa ruot ento ichawa man ruot Mathia onongo pere gang Francesco dong openyo dano Mathia gang kenyu ni gin miro omila chad man bore en miro nego kawang omine ma Arab onego I Juba. Okay, dano Mathia kenyu dong owaje bot Francesco ni ma en bene obedo Latin parot mi pokongo ni miro en bene onge mabe ni chik kwar pachuli okwere ni dano ma oringo igang parot pedong gi goyo nyo gi nego. Okay? Natalino, gi Francesco, pe omiro winyo lo padano man, gindong, ologo gi duan mage, ni ka pe omio jalal Arab man, botgi, gintuero chelo, ngad mo keken matie igang kenyu. Okay? Logman okelo luor madiri chuny dano matie igang parruot, Mathia mana ye gin ma oweko gin okelo tehir omio bot Francisco gi Natalino. Okay? Lotino cho ario man ikar ma kum ja la Arab mano o ichingi gitero chien manok ma romo yad piera beach ka gichielo woko. Okay? Manok kany lok mi topa la chat mi Arab dano mokene otero bot gamente. Inge neno ario ne nyo adek gamente ochwalo lo tich bot rod Mathia. Malo tich pa gamente obino gino nungo rod Mathia benetie gang ka gi wajo bot rod gi dano mokene ni lok maraj pere pi man dano pe miero obed gi luoro. Inge lok gi luak lo tich pagamente odog kabedo megi ento gi odiro mokene lo tich pagamente oduoro ka omako dano i Obbo. Okay? Luak mao neno ni lo tich pagamente dong tie ka mako dano mapol gino wajo bot ruod Mathia. Weko ring wako pien e agigi lo tich pagamente bimahe. Ruod Mathia winyo lo par luak eno ringo igulu Uganda. Inge ma ruod Mathia ringo wako i Uganda luak mi Obbo odong la bongo ruod. Okay? Kid ma ke mi ruod i lobo bo dano bene pe mako ata ada luak oyero Turbuzio mon omin Mathia lo lori obedo ruod Obbo. Ruod Turbuzio mon omako luak pi mwaka ario keken. Mwaka apara bong wen gi piera beach wa beach. We apara bong wen gi piera beach wa bichel. Manok kany luako nongo ni ruod Turbuzio pe tuere tich gidano mabe. Okay? This is a reason why kiri kod mayero ruod. Pienti spiritual in nature. Kiri kod ngeo nga matuere loyo ke. Ituere pointing down attack. So juman walukia kirugin the road la pong kiri kote, it will not work. So kiro Turbuzio mogari can tuere ko bene loke. Luak mi Obbo chwalo doan gi bot lo diro kahane gin miro road manyin. Okay? So only 2 years Turbuzio mon atemo loyo Mathia lo lakin tuere ko. So magi chwalo doan gi miro road mokene okero nga odogo Vitto. Lo tuere no dogo Mathia cause Mathia ringa ho Uganda tia kana Uganda gamente tia yinyelo miro negone pien lugmani o nego jaara mo gang per lakin ena kwero lo ke hane. So tia kane. So dogo mina Vitto. So man ngodong section e kab ngo ni Vitto aburi odogo ke moka apar bongwen gi pier beach wa biro we apar bongwen gi piera biro wa beach. Okay? So imwaga apar bongwen gi pier beach wa biro luako noni tich par ruod Turbuzio pe woro mabe kid man luak miro pi man gino penyo gamente weko ye ruod manyien gamente ma unyo koro pa luak ojo bot gini gin miro tim ye atie ikin Vitto gi Emilio ojung ma en bene onong tie karan nyo la church pa Vitto. Okay. Ikarma bol kuyo tum, luak mi Obbo, nongoni Emilio Juma ye ma oloyo queer. Te kwara pa Obbo wajini Lokman okelo nguru ikindano pien jomo kene onongo pe ngeo ni Emilio Jumbene Latino Abong. Okay? Kari bed kidman gamente okero rod Emilio ike. Rod Emilio Jum peo bedo Latina Bong ma idok ot pa abarai chi eno maho luak pi dwe manok kala chien luak okwanye eno ho luak dong oduogo Vitto ike imwaga apara bongwen gi pier bich wa biro ma eno bedo ike wa imwaga apara bongwen gi pier abiro wi abich. Rod Vitto aburi omako luak pi mwaga apa wiye aboro we gonna Chaka gi 1957 we 1975. Okay. Muhammad ma Rod Vitto tie ike obedo bene mwaga man onongo mun panyanya gigamente mi Sudan tie madid dana mapol orwenyo kwa megi imun man. Dana mokene ma odong ma kwa ikin mwaga apar bongwen gi piera bichel wa ngwen wi apar bongwen gi piera bichel wa bichel. Gino ringo waka i Uganda kama gin onongo Road Mathia buri lo lori maneno ringo chon tie ka charo buk igang leha pa Katolika magi luongo Catholic Church Holy Rosary Glue i Uganda. En bene oneno Road Mathia i Gulu i karma anmena neno Road Mathia i Gulu i karma tie ka Kwan Lacho Seminary. Okay. So, at some point, ma Vitto gidano, I think ringo Uganda, I think Vitto ringo gidano in 1975. At that point, Emilio omahoke for 2 years. Lakin dana pole nungi pegi ringo giti Uganda. Okay, ogana Emilio Latina Abong lakin lotini peg lineage mi chiefdom. Gina gamente mamiro kira eno gina British kimiro kira en ni law ke gina mono gina election. Akin dano kwera hani no Vitto mamiro bedi. So Vitto bero madano ringa Uganda gimuon. I guess no Vitto ringa gidano wen cause okero Emilio 1975 to 1977. Lakin information e pe kida manong Emilio bero kenini dano ringa hani. Okay. So ginge 1977 no manena ningoni Mathia buri lo lori ma dogi ke kono ti Uganda ba ne no ti Gulu kuya ti gina Catholic Church kuya ka chara buke gana chara buke nganga gini. Okay. So now I'm skipping to Mathia buri lo lori because there's no information on Emilio for those 2 years. A church chone ngani kom lok Mathia ne Mathia dok pajo imoha apar bongwan gi piera biera we adek inge ma kero ching mikuch or peace agreement ya Addis Ababa Ethiopia imwaga apar bongwan gi piera biera we area. Excuse me. Gamente mi Southern Sudan o mio chikni dano duju ma ringa mun ilobo ma pat ni Chaka imwaga apara bongwan gi piera bich wa bich we apara bongwan gi piera biera we area miero bin odok itich megi machon. Okay. Acholi ma ringo, excuse me. Acholi mo ringo ilobo mo kiana o Chaka duro pajo. Okay. Excuse me, please. I need a second. And there goes my son. Okay, I hope you guys can hear me now. So, dano Chaka duro pajo. Okay? Road Mathia buri lolori bene a duro pajo I Mohaman. Okay? Kidma gamente dong o mio chikni ngara chiel miro doki tit mere. Pilokman o wero luak mi o bodong o duro Road Mathia buri lolori tit mi road I moha a par bongwen gi piera biro wabiche. Okay? Mohaman bene chik onongo pe tie Kidma yang ikarma nyoma pa British Piman kwa no I'm sorry ikarma yang ikare pa British Piman kwa dorotek bod rori duchu mi acholi don wajini rori dong pe gichulu muchoro ikin due Kidma yang muni timo met ikom man muchara bene dong pe romo rori Kidma will ichuk ochiro malo. Okay? Rodia chulio bero dano ma twingi chi totual ginpe miro gamo ayal wang nyo bribery gi bot luak pien man teach me buomi. Okay? Man bene on nyuru bot wa pingo tin log man ni bribery pere gi Leb Acholi. Okay? Gi kwar bribing gi corruption ma British gi Chaka cherone. They're not even collecting tax anymore and contributions. Gichamo dano ko kima British mero negi abuse dano wala gibere corrupt gitema donko. Imoha par bong wan gi pier bor we dick. Lwen pa John Gering de mabio o chahe. In Southern Sudan ma Nick Omero obedo duong excuse me ikindano lwen man Ogwaho Kabero mi Equatoria. Para Alcazar gi Upper Nile, Road Mathia. Excuse me for a second. Okay. Okay. So Road Mathia ma nana pin opore. Makwa giloin. Oboro gang Obbo o chere Juba. Gigu maraj tuo o maka Road Mathia o mero gi nere idwe mi ario moha apar bong wen gi pier boro ya biro igang pa Justice John Nge idwe mi ario man John Nge onongo chiro waho iyweyo in Nairobi, Kenya. Kidma abero kaneno kwere onongo ni ke mi Abong ilobo Obbo ogiki karma Road Mathia buri lolori oto. Okay. I hope I'm not delayed. Is my video delayed? It seems like it is. I hope you guys can see me clearly and I hope you can hear me. It's a little bit jumpy. Okay. So the writer believes when Mathia dies, that is the end of the Abong chiefdom, as it truly was, through that lineage of that one family in Abong. Okay. Mind you, at this time, we're skipping over the fact that in 1969, Chief Aburi died in Uganda too. Chief Aburi died, and none of his children brought his body back to Obbo. That was the end of that, and he didn't pass on the traditional kirikot to anybody to appoint them as chief. So all of these chiefs after Aburi, Chief Aburi, his kids, whoever, they were appointed by the British or through their DCs. So, okay, paramount chiefs, district commissioners, they were not appointed through their traditional ceremonies as it should be. Okay, so they were not truly honored as true chiefs. Okay, so now Mathia Lolori, son of Aburi, dies in Juba in the home of Justice John Onge when John Onge was in Kenya. So he died alone in that home. But so the writer is saying that was the end of the true chiefdom of Abong chiefs. The rest who comes after Mathia Aburi Lolori are appointed by the British or become chiefs through appointment, not through the traditional sense. So, and they're not from Abong. They're from Lowudo, another subclan of Abong. So, which can't be because chiefs can only come from one family, okay? Tapa ruod Mathia omero kelo apoka kin lotin Abong Mathia Juba. Log me a chiel ochaga e ma dano. That didn't sound right. A chiel ochaga e ma dano tie ka yik. Kid ma chik mi kwaro pa choli miro. Inyim choro ngom. Iwi latin nyo lotino miro obol ngom iwi. Okay. Ichawa man mi yik Latino mi remo parod Mathia onongo pere. Okay? Anangie ma beni rod Mathia man omin wora. Ma an bene atuero lungoni wora. Ada lo diro bo Mathia kenyu. Owachini miero abol ngom iwi rod Mathia. E karama atiro bolongom iwi rod Mathia, Cornelio Odera, Openyolwa Gidwan ma maloni, Certanino Ola Onyala, Woodpak Cassiano o Team Onyala, Kono bolongom iwi rod Mathia machalo anga. Okay. Aunyo Lokman ento pe agamo iye gin ma mo omere ki wood mera ki iwi liel kidma chikwaro pachuli wajone atin ma bolongom iwi lato miro chit pajo labong neno ngeye adok pajo kalachen apor Lukman bod Dominic liling gi Falabiano lo wan duchu chwinywa pe obero yo ikom lopa Cornelio Odia. So the writer here is telling us that he is the nephew of Chief Mathia Aburi Lolori, that at the time of his death, his children needed to throw dirt on the grave. Okay, that's the traditional process in our burial ceremonies. The children of the deceased, must throw dirt on the grave, and they must keep walking and not look back. So because he did not have any of his children present in Juba at the time of his burial, the writer, Saturnino Ola Onyala, was the only next of kin. Okay? He writes here that his father is the brother of Mathia Aburi Lolori. Okay? Is he the son of Onyala, the one that Chief Aburi sent to rule Lacham, our Obbo Lacham. Satanino Nyala, if you're watching, sorry if my question is not clear. Are you the son of Onyala, the brother of Aburi, that was sent to Lake me Obamia Cham? I mean, Obamia Juich. No, Obamia Cham, I'm sorry. So, anyways, he said that his father is the brother of Mathia. He said his father, his father is the brother of Chief Mathia Aburi Lolori. So he was the only next of kin there, and they asked him to throw the dirt on her grave. And then when he was doing that, somebody named Cornelio Odia said that it was not right that he was given that right because he was not family. But because he was not able to speak, you have to throw the dirt and walk away. You turn your back, throw the dirt towards the back. We did that when my mother died. You throw it back and you don't look back. You keep walking forward and you go home. You can't look at the grave, basically. So anyway, somebody was questioning who he was and why he was doing that and why he was allowed to do that. So anyways, I wonder if he's part of the Abong family, Abong chiefdoms. Okay. Lokmi area obino ikom lokmi kabero madano miro ogo iliel pa Rod Mathia. Rod Mathia oto igang pa Justice John Onge Kasiba. One young mabene carry bed ono John tie ijuba liel pa Rod Mathia pori pe gituero gero ne igang mere. One wangie mabene Marcelo dia ma eno bedo omin Mathia madit en bene okwero ni liel pa Rod Mathia pe miero ogo igang mere. Eno mere gi wacho ni ka Lotino Abong miro goro liel pa Rod Mathia gin twero goro ne igang mo keken ento pe igang mere. Lukman an la church mi bugman kachel gi Dominic Liling pe waneno ie ki wang mabed man oweho wakero Marcelo Odia gi omine Cornelio Odera piny inge lok matek iwi Marcelo Odia eno chiro kapenyo tam padaho mere kasisha munying dane e karma kasisha onunguni Cornelio Odera bene ochung giwan ena daw yeni liel pa Rod Mathia lo lori o kobo hogi gang pa John Onge okel bot I hila buluk. Okay. So that's that. Mathia dies. That's the end of the chiefdoms under Obong. And this was during Anyanya 2. He dies in 1987 in Juba. And they had to fight over where they wanted to bury him. Who had the right to be at the funeral? Who had the right to organize the funeral and rights to basically select the burial site for the chief? I would assume that they could take his body back home, his home, and bury it, but I'm assuming because of war, it was not possible. Okay? So now, it ended with Mathia Aburi Lolori, he dies. Okay? But then now we see there was a 2 or 3 year period between the chiefdoms of Mathia Aburi Lolori and Joseph Atira. Why was Joseph Atira appointed in 1990? Okay, so the next section covers Joseph Atira, and then finally Benjamin Obbo of Loudo. I'm just going to read those two paragraphs and I'm going to end it here. So then the following chapters or the following sections after Benjamin Obbo of Loudo, these are just two paragraphs. The writer goes into how Abong was split up, how they divided themselves after or through that whole process from the beginning up until 2002 or 2005. I'm not going to go into detail reading about how Abong Obbo, because I already read that already. Now he goes into further details discussing the same points. I'm not going to cover how Gipore again. I will read it at a later time. After I read about Benjamin Obbo, Joseph Atira and Benjamin Obbo, tomorrow, I won't have time tomorrow or Monday, maybe Monday night. Monday night, I want to jump to read briefly about what? Obbo Lacham. Because I was reading Obbo Lachwich, right? No, I was reading. Let me see. Is this a ball Lacham or a ball Lachwich? Anyway, I'm reading. Excuse me. So, anyways, I'm reading Obbo. I know I wasn't going to spend too much reading today. I'm reading the Abong side. I think it's Lachwich or Obbo Lachwich or Obbo Lacham. Did I forget what side I'm on? Okay, I was reading Obbo Lachwich. Okay. On Monday night, I'm going to read briefly about what happened or what, and if there's any issues on the side of Obbo Lacham. Obbo to the left. Okay, I want to see if there's anything interesting there. I'm going to spend just one night reading on Obbo Lacham, okay, on Monday night. And then I want to jump from Obbo now to Pajok. Okay. The reason why I want to jump to Pajok is because I'm from Pajok. My dad is from Pajok. There's a lot of history there, and there was quite a bit of history in relationship between Pajok and Obbo. My mom is from Obbo, my dad is from Pajok. But I want to get to Pajok mainly because now I have some connections to some Pajok people, and that I can ask questions, and hopefully they'll be able to clarify certain things. Right now, while I'm reading about Obbo, I don't have too many people that can give me answers about some questions that I may have about what I'm reading. But if I jump to the section on Pajok, I'm able to ask my dad. I'm able to ask members from our Pajok community. Okay, so on stay tuned on not Monday night. I'm gonna finish Obbo Lacham, but maybe Tuesday or Wednesday night I will start reading about Pajok. Yay! Okay, so now we jump to Joseph Atira, 1990 to 2002. So when at the time when Anyanya II started, which was the civil war, the second civil war of Sudan, 1983 to 2005. During Anyanya II, by 1983, I was born in 1984 in Anyanya II, and at that time, okay, Mathia came back from Uganda, and he was the chief of Obbo at that time. And so by the time he died in 1987, we were still living in southern Sudan. In 1987, we were living in Pajok, southern Sudan. At the time, I was born in Torit in 1984. That's where the LGC centers were, where the government center is for Southern Sudan, how Southern Sudan was governed through Torit. I was born in Torit at one of the major hospitals there. We moved to Pajok. You know, people were displaced during the war, and we ended up in Pajok, where we are from anyway. My dad is from Pajok. And Mathia Lolori dies in 87, but in Juba. This was still during the time of war. Some people were actually actively fighting in a liberation. So those who were fighting, they're moving around like our fathers, our uncles, grandfathers, great grandfathers, and some of us were left with our mothers, aunties, grandmas, you know, and all of the children were left. And but we were also displaced, constantly moving around within Pajak, within Southern Sudan, constantly just looking for safety. But in 1987, when he dies in Juba, we were still in Pajak. Uh, we may move around to smaller villages during active war, but during ceasefire, we come back to Pajak. So in 88, in 86, my little brother Apo or Komoro was born. And then 88, my youngest brother Moses was born. So that was a year after Mathia Lori dies. Okay. So then in 88, we leave Pajok because of war. We went to Fogay first. Pogay, some people call it Pogay, some people call it Fogay. It's closer to Lomoromo or the border there. And eventually we end up being ambushed, and we run into Kidgum all by ourselves. I ran into Uganda by myself in 88. Um, anyways, while all this is happening at the end there, at the end of the 1980s, we ended up in Uganda. So by the time Joseph Otira was installed in 1990, most of the Acholi people, including the Obbo people, were in regional countries in refugee camps. Very few were still inside southern Sudan. So it's very interesting that John Otira was installed in 1990 to 2002 for the very few people that were left, if any, in southern Sudan at the time. Okay? So Joseph Otira was installed 1990 to 2002. Allah, okay? Okay? O joining on it. Imoha apar bong wen gi pier boro wi abiro. Mon pa John Gereng de mabio o pogolwak mi obo. Ie adek. Dana mokene o ringo e Uganda. Dana mokene o gaki kane itim. Ka dana mokene o ringo i Juba. Dana ma o ringo i Juba imoha apar bong wen i pier bong wen. Gin o yero Joseph Otira, wod pa o yoro yot, mi logolo obed rot, kid ma jo o bodong pere gi rot. Mana ye kid ma rot o a kwere, ki dok ot mi Abong o chiro kwere i logolo. Jo Abong o mako ke mi obo pi mwaka ma duong. O chak ngo mia apara biro wi apar bong wen gi piera bor wi abichiel. Dok od mo idio bo ma tuero mako luak kit ma man pere. Man bene nyuru bodwa pingo lotino. Muru bodwa pingo lotino obo ma tie i Juba. Imoha apar bong wen gi piera bong wen wa beach. Gino no miro ni Fred owoti latin agigi parura buri o makike parod. Okay. So a lot of people left. People are displaced living in Juba in different pockets. hiding basically. But the Obbo still wanted to make sure there's a chief in Southern Sudan. It's saying that the Abong people didn't want Joseph Atira to be placed as the next chief. They wanted one of the last son of Chief Aburi, Fred Owoti, to be the chief, to basically continue on with the custom and the tradition through the same lineage. But for some reason, Kari Bet Kidman, Wan Puri, Watuero, Wajani, Inge Topa Road Mathia Lolori, Man Dongo Biro, Agigi Mike Pa Abong, Ingamobo. Why? Because now Joseph Otira Notie from Logolo, I'm sorry. He's from the side of Logolo. Drop your comments if I'm saying that wrong. And then from Joseph Atira in 2002, Wabino Ngadong, Benjamin Obbo Miludo. Mama, okay. Okay. What you know about Benjamin? Ningo? Luen pa John Gereng de Mabio, mo chaha I moha, a par bon wangi pira boru ya dek, o gigwaha I moha, Ilebario, Giwia Beach. Makun Lobo, Kero Ching P, Comprehensive Peace Agreement, CPA, in Nairobi, Maubero, Ikin, SPLM, Gigamente, Mi Sudan. Okay. Imwa, Ilebario, Giwia Bichel, Malotino Bo Duropajo, Gay Uganda, Gino Nongoni, Rora Bong, Modong Pere, Mamiro, Hotel Luak, Gino Kero Benjamin Obbo. Woodpa, Abola, Miloudo, Obed Road Obbo. Dano Kiro Road Benjamin Obbo, Ke, Mi Road Pien, and Young, Obedo, Mokongo, Iloudo, Mokungu, Iloudo, Ikare Pa Road Mathia Buri Lolori. Gin mi ario, ma oweholwak okero Benjamin Obbo, Ike, Pien, and Mukungu, Achiel, Keken, Maudong, Ma Kwa Gikin, Mokungo. What is that word anyway? Drop your comments, guys. I'm sorry. Ma Neno Kwa Kin Kwango Ma Neno Obedo Itich. Rock Beneo Kero Mrs. Marcelina Adiero Obed Lawang Dock Road. Matien mi Achiel Madano mi Obbo Kero Daha Obed Lawang Road. Dano Wajani teach pa Road Benjamin Obbo Potie ma be. Enter Pe Wangyo Gin ma Anyim. An Bene Atamone Kala Tina Bong Mo Onyure Ya Nyim Mamiro Bedo Road. Ageno ni Jobo Bikwanyo Ngad Ma Tie Ike Gin Dwaka Road Bot Abong Kima Yang Chon. Okay, Agi Kenyu. So it's the end of the chiefdoms. Mathia Lolori dies. That's the last chief. Even though the last born of Chief Aburi was alive somewhere, they appoint Joseph Atira from Logolo from 1990 to 2002, while there were no Abong people because of the war. And then later they appoint, in 2005, they appoint Benjamin Obbo from Lowudo. Okay, when they came back from Uganda, they couldn't find any members of that community. However, they claimed that if they ever come across anybody from that lineage, they will put them back on the throne as a chief. But in the meantime, they chose somebody who served the chiefdom during the time of Chief Mathia Lolori. Okay, so they put Benjamin Obbo from Lowudo. Okay, so on Monday, I'll start reading briefly, just a quick synopsis of Obbo La Cham, Monday night, okay? And then from there, I'll start reading about Pajok starting sometime next week because there's more detail about what happened in Obbo, okay? But I'm going to jump from there and go back to Pajok. And in due time, when I have the time, I will come back and read more in detail about what happened in Obbo. But now we know exactly what happened up until this point with the chiefdoms, okay? And how people were displaced because of the war. Anapoa Matek. Now, my people who speak only English, I read quite a bit about the remaining rule of Obbo under about 3 or 4 other chiefs after Chief Aburi. No, I'm sorry, after Chief Mathia Aburi Lolori. Um, okay, because of the civil war in Sudan, there was a lot of challenges in southern Sudan, and then the British basically also wanted the Arabs out of Sudan, and some of the Arabs who had marketplaces, who were working in marketplaces or had storefronts in marketplaces or selling um, in southern Sudan, were no longer safe after the war broke out between um, the north or the government and the people of the south, the indigenous people, basically. So some Arabs did kill a lot of the indigenous or the blacks or the southerners. Okay, so those who felt uneasy, the Arabs who are still in southern Sudan or in Abong, who were afraid for their lives, um, they needed refuge. They needed a place to hide while they were in the south or while they were in Obbo. One of them went and hid at the chief's house because they used to have this rule that if you were ever in danger and you felt somebody wanted to harm you, or even if you were a fugitive, I would think, you can seek refuge by going to the chief's house. So this one Arab guy went to hid at Chief Mathia Budulolori's house, even though he wasn't home, but he thought he would be safe there. They placed him on top of the roof of the chief's home where nobody can reach him or see him. But the Obbo people knew he was hiding there. So when the government came looking for this guy, some Obbo people who wanted to kill him came looking for this guy um, because the Arab's a brother to this Arab guy did kill somebody before, and they were looking for him. Excuse me. So they came looking. They heard he was there. They came looking, and nobody wanted to turn him up. And when they threatened to kill off everybody there, the locals did give up his location. And they took this Arab guy and they went and shot and killed him in front of everybody. So then when the British government or from the LGC in Turid, the government officials or DC, they came to find out about what was going on in Obbo and what they heard. And when Mathia Budulori came back, he said, no, nothing really happened. He knew what happened, but he needed to contain it. Now, mind you, the British were very serious about how well the chiefs can govern their local communities, okay, their territories. So he wrote it off and said, nothing really happened. Nothing happened here. It was just a misunderstanding, but nothing really happened. Mind you, this guy was murdered basically on his land. So anyways, he eventually runs off to Uganda. while the war broke out or whatever. Um, I think I'm jumping around too much. Turbuzio was in power very briefly, but he couldn't handle it after Mathia Bud, and it put Vitto back. And Vitto was only in power for about 11 years. Um, and then Emilio was put against Mathia on a ballot from 1975 to in 1975 they were on the same ballot, but Emilio won, but the people refused and said that no, Mathia Lolori is one on one. That's the person they want. So Mathia Lolori was back in power, though Emilio was officially the person who won the election. So it says here that he was unofficially a chief, but there was no information on it. He was just a chief for 2 years, but the people only recognized Mathia Budi Lolori as a chief. Up until 1987, when he dies, and I mean, he doesn't die right in a ball. He runs off to Juba during the war. He dies in Juba, and they couldn't figure out where to bury him. There's a huge dispute, and we find out that the writer of this book that I'm reading to you guys is akin to Chief Abudi and his children, and Chief Mathia Abudi Lolori, son of Chief Abudi. So he claims Chief Mathia Abudi Lolori was his uncle or his father's brother, that he had the right to, I guess, participate in the traditional burial of Chief Mathia Abudi Lolori. Anyways, after that, after he dies, Mathia Abudi Lolori was the last Abong chief. All the chiefdom of this clan, the whole of Obbo, came from only one subclan, which is the Abong people, from just one specific family. From one, from the Omini and Imai um, time. It was passed down through Chogbe and Aguinya all the way down to now Mathia Abudi Lolori. They've all been one family, one blood, from one clan. After Mathia Abudi Lolori dies, that ends that tradition, and then eventually because people left during the war, the civil war in Sudan, in 1987. By 1990, they put Joseph Otira, who is not from Abong, he's from Logolo. He was in power only for 3 years. And then there's another grace period. There's a period between 2002 and 2005 when some of the Abong people returned, but not all of them, and they couldn't find their chiefs or people from that family. They appointed Benjamin Obbo in 2005, but Benjamin Obbo is from Lahudo, a completely different subclan, and they are not meant to be chiefs, basically. They're not from the same lineage. Um, but the Obbo people today are saying that if any Abong, any son of Abong were to ever come up and say they wanted to be chief of Obbo, they would have the right over any other subclan because the chiefdom belongs only to the Abong people. Okay, so I'm leaving it there. The writer writes more in depth about the Abong and the Obbo people, basically going more into detail about everything that I've been reading about Obbo. But I don't want to go back and read everything else again in detail as he goes further into detail, because I think I spent quite a bit of time reading about Obbo Latrich. Next Monday, I'm reading about Obbo Lacham, because Obbo was divided into two by Chief Aburi because it's so large. So I've been reading about the Obbo people and their rule and issues on the left side, Latrich. I want to cover very briefly about what happens if there's anything at all on Obbo Lacham, or Obbo to the left. Okay? on Monday night. Okay, in 2 days' time, I will be airing. And then after Monday night, I'm gonna maybe take a break and jump away from this clan. I want to go to Pajok and read about Pajok. Pajok is another Acholi clan in southern Sudan, where I'm from, where my father's from. And they have a lot of sub clans also within Pajok. I'm jumping there because I want to ask those people from Pajok that I know who are still alive to give me some clarification about certain things I will be reading while they're still here, including my father, who is very old. I want to make sure that I can discuss with him some of the stuff I'm finding through this reading and see what he can add. And also some people who I know from our Pajok group to see if they can add anything to what I'm reading or, you know, because this is just a learning platform and I want to make sure I have all the information, not only for me to learn through, but also for you guys to learn from. And grow as a community, learning about Acholi culture, Acholi language, um, in our history. Okay? And po Matek, this was a very long recording, a very long video. On Jacqueline Kang Caught, Manchagileba Chuli. And man segmenting of Kwan Gileba Chuli. Please like, comment, share, follow us on Facebook as Chaka Gileba Chuli. Subscribe to the YouTube channel as Chaka Gileba Chuli. I'm also on Facebook as Chaka Kang South Sudan, where I also post content. And I am also on TikTok posting snippets as Chaka Kang South Sudan. And I'm Matek Julie, my audience, Luo, non-Luo, Africa, everybody. I'm really happy that you're here. I'm happy that you're watching. Please stay tuned. I'll be reading on Monday. Thank you so much. I'm Matek.